before the constant noise, before automatic movement, before any button, engine, or invisible gear quietly at work. There was a time when absolutely everything depended on the human body, the weather, and daylight. In the 1600s, the world did not yet know machines as we imagine them today. There were no engines speeding up processes, no hidden systems guaranteeing comfort. Every action required effort. Every result took time. Every day began and ended according to rules no one could ignore. Dawn was not just a beautiful moment on the horizon. It was a practical signal. When the sun rose, life began. When it disappeared, almost everything had to stop. Natural light was the most reliable clock that existed. Homes woke slowly. Wooden doors creaked as they opened. The smell of smoke began to spread, coming from fireplaces and improvised stoves. There were no switches. To cook, you had to light a fire. To heat water, you had to wait. To light a room, you had to consume something, a candle, oil, animal fat. Nothing happened without a cost. In rural areas, the day began even earlier. Men, women, and children rose before the sun was fully visible. Work could not wait. The land had to be prepared, cared for, defended against unpredictable weather. Plowing the soil meant pushing, pulling, guiding animals. A single miscalculation could ruin an entire harvest. There were no mechanical shortcuts. The body was the primary tool. Every task required repetition. Every movement was learned by watching elders. Knowledge did not come from books accessible to everyone, but from constant practice. Wisdom was passed down from generation to generation, orally, through example. In villages, the rhythm was not very different. Artisans formed the economic heart of daily life. Blacksmiths shaped metal using fire, hammers, and brute strength. Carpenters turned logs into furniture, doors, carts. Tailors stitched garments piece by piece, with no mass production. Everything was made to order, in whatever time it required. Nothing was fast. Nothing was disposable. Every object carried hours, sometimes days, of human labor. That is why everything was used to its limit. Repaired. Reused. Inherited. A simple pair of shoes could accompany someone for years, going through constant adjustments and repairs. Transportation followed the same limitations. There were no engines shrinking distances. Traveling meant walking, riding horses, or enduring long journeys in uncomfortable carts. A trip between cities could take days. Between kingdoms, weeks. Between continents, months. Information moved at the same speed. News arrived late, often distorted. A war might already be over by the time someone finally heard about it. Political decisions took a long time to produce real effects. The world did not react instantly to events. It absorbed them slowly. This slowness shaped people's minds. The future was not thought of in years, but in seasons. The main concern was not progress, but survival. A harsh winter could mean hunger. A disease could wipe out entire families. Without machines, without antibiotics, without support systems, life was fragile. And death was present. Not as spectacle, but as a constant possibility. shorter life expectancy, common accidents. Illnesses that are simple today were death sentences back then. This changed the relationship with time. Each day carried weight. Each meal was valued. Each moment of rest was necessary. At night, the world truly went dark. Without public lighting, without electric light, villages sank into deep shadows. People withdrew early. Candles illuminated only small circles, creating silent, introspective environments. Stories were told in low voices. Silence was not uncomfortable, it was normal. Sleeping was not a late choice. It was a natural response to darkness. Even in the wealthiest homes, comfort was relative. Heavy fabrics, solid furniture, imported objects, all of this existed, but still depended on human labor. Servants, attendants, invisible workers kept these houses functioning. Without them, nothing moved. Luxury did not come from speed. It came from control over other people's labor. The absence of machines also meant a direct relationship with nature. The climate dictated non-negotiable rules. Rain delayed tasks. Droughts destroyed crops. Winds decided the fate of ships. There was no way to compensate with technology. Humans did not dominate the environment. They adapted to it. In ports, ships waited for favorable conditions. Sails depended on the wind. Maps were imprecise. The world was still, for the most part, unknown. Many regions existed only as rumors, incomplete drawings, exaggerated stories. Exploration meant real risk. And yet, people still set out. Because even without machines, human curiosity was never absent. Merchants searched for new routes. Navigators tried to expand boundaries. Intellectuals began to question old dogmas. Ideas moved slowly, but they moved. In the 1600s, seeds of change were already being planted. Scientific experiments began to appear. Simple gears were tested. Mechanical concepts started to take shape. It was not yet a revolution, it was a whisper. For most people, however, the world remained the same. The next day would resemble the previous one. Work would demand physical effort. Time would continue to be felt in the body. End-of-day exhaustion would be real, not mental. There was no excess of stimuli, no constant rush. Life was hard, but it was coherent. Every action had visible consequences. Every object had a known origin. Every meal had a story. The world was smaller, slower, more predictable, and at the same time more dangerous. No one imagined that centuries later, machines would make labor invisible. That physical effort would be replaced by systems. That night would no longer be dark. That time would stop being felt and start being obsessively measured. But at that moment, none of that existed. The world without machines was not romantic. It was demanding, relentless, and deeply human. And perhaps that is exactly why, when we look back, it still asks us a quiet question. What did we gain by accelerating everything? And what did we leave behind when effort stopped being part of life? Before gears, before engines, before the automated world, there was a time when living required full presence. And that is how the world worked. The world has changed, and it will continue to change. If this journey into the past opened your eyes, don't let this story end here. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Because every week, we bring back worlds that time tried to erase. You're not here just to watch. You're here to remember. Subscribe. And keep watching history be born again.